because I'm an open book. So I'm gonna get my notes from right here, man. So I gotta ask you, what's the connection between fasting and our walk with the Lord? Because I've dated women who believe in something. They say they're gonna do a fast. My mom, when they're in a place where we're gonna fast as a church, right? And I'm only asking this because before, I was going through I had a situation where I was dating somebody and I was into him, but I ain't really wasn't into him. I liked him, but I wasn't so until I lost him. Then I was sad. I was heartbroken, man. And I went about 3 days without eating because my mind gone.
Ooh.
And then, and then I was like, man, I done went 3 days without eating. So I was like, you know
Didn't
what?
even think about it, huh?
Didn't even know, bro. Let me keep going. So I kept going. Went about 7 days. Then I started seeing myself get a little trim. Then 8 days, 9 days. I kept going with it, bro. But my mind was so clear, my thoughts were clear. And then probably at the 14th day, I started eating some fruit. I ate watermelon. So I went about almost 31 days just eating watermelon every day, right? And the only reason I probably stopped because people then started saying, boy, you done lost too much weight. Boy, something wrong with you. What's going on? I'm like, boy, I need to lose weight, but now I lost the weight, something wrong. But
Yeah.
I will honestly say, bro, during that time, my mind was clear, my thoughts was clear, and that was probably one of the biggest times. Even though I'm going through a heartbreak, I was praying more. I was focused. I ain't never felt like that. And I don't know why I can't do that easily now. Maybe it's the discipline aspect, but I could definitely see like, man, when I'm fasting or not eating all this junk, it just seemed to take me to another place. What's the connection between fasting and our walk with God?
So when we look at the original Hebrew context of what fast is, it literally means to cover the mouth,
Mm,
right? Which means that we're not to consume. I know that today in 21st century and Western culture, what has happened is we have made all kind of different fasts,
mm,
which is I'm fasting from the TV. I'm fasting from my PlayStation. I'm fasting from the phone. That's not a real fast. A real fast constitutes you covering your mouth or not consuming food either for a particular time or period that you stated or settled. But what that does is you have to understand that when you do consume food, what it does is it feeds your flesh. When you deny your flesh of this stuff, it enhances your spirit. You get closer with God, right? But one of the major things that you need to understand is that while you're fasting, two things need to take place. One, you need to make sure that it is a time that you relegated for God, you and God time, right? But you
mm.
also have to pray. Fasting without prayer is just a diet. That's it. A lot of people get on that thing and they do it just to lose weight. But if you don't pray while you're doing it, all you're doing is a diet. You know what I mean? But this does bring you closer to God. This is why you're more focused because you haven't fed your flesh. Your flesh is not up, right? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And so the more we eat, the more we're feeding the flesh, and that's why you're not in tune necessarily with God on a day-to-day basis. And so when you do take some time and you start not consuming and you concentrate on the Bible and spending time with God and praying with God, you can hear from Him more clearly. And that's probably where your focus came in at. You solely want to put your mind on Him and look at it as, hey, I'm trying to get closer with God. Some people try to fast for certain outcomes. Sometimes this can be dangerous because when you only look to God or your faith in God is dependent on a certain outcome, then you lose your faith. It should not be about the outcome, it should be about the outlook. And so that is important as you get ready to sit down and you say, I'm getting ready to set aside this time to fast and ask God to intervene or do what it is. When we fast, we get closer to God for sure. I mean, there's certain things that you cannot do without prayer and fasting. As a matter of fact, I just preached this text yesterday. In the book of Matthew or Mark, you know what I mean? The disciples could not cast the spirit or this demon out of this young boy. So the boy's father brings him to Jesus. Jesus, long story short, ends up doing it. The disciples come to Jesus. Jesus, how come we couldn't handle this demon? You sent us out to do this, 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 and this. And he said, this kind, which lets us know there's a hierarchy. There's a certain type of spirit or a certain type of thing that we can't do without fasting and praying.
Okay. Interesting. Because, hey, Pastor Jarrell, right. I'm glad you said that because somebody just said this. When you pray, ask God for the spirit of discernment. Now, I am PK, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I talk often about having discernment, right? And I can't explain it because that's one thing I probably never, because I just can feel things. It's almost like I don't even know how to explain it. And I've had this conversation with some brothers that was outside the church, but discernment is a real thing. But you don't hear too many people, they talk about it and they use that term. But what is discernment? Because I haven't seen a lot of people touch on it.
So discernment is the deciphering of a thing. And if you really look at this biblically speaking, when people talk about discernment or I have discernment, what they're trying to go back to is one of the 9 gifts that the Lord has left with us, right? And so the gift is actually called the discerning of spirits. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the gift is actually called the discerning of spirits. And what the Lord gave that to us for was to discern certain spirits that were in operation at the time you are either ministering or getting ready to pray or do whatever you're getting ready to do. It works hand in hand with the other gifts, the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, the working of miracles. It's a very powerful thing. And a lot of us are born with it. I think what we would call that in the natural is intuition. But God gives us a gift. And the discerning of spirits is you knowing what spirit is in operation at the time that you are getting ready to do whatever it is that you're doing.
Okay. That's good.
So, say for instance, most of us, we might go up to a person and they may tell us something, and it's a lie. um, and sometimes some people are so good that they can cover that thing up, spice it up, whatever, make it look, like a gourmet meal, and you might fall for it. A lot of times, though, your gift or some gifts that God have put in you, whether you're in the church or not, are still in operation. And so you can discern that spirit is a lying spirit, if that makes sense. And so that goes for envy, jealousy, murder. There's different things that I've seen on the altar, and it's because God gives you the ability to discern certain spirits in operation at that particular time.
Well. See, you flowing today, boy. I tell you, people don't know. People don't know, bro. Our conversations be flowing.
Yes,
And
sir.
you a hit. I mean, bro, that kind of encourages me as well.